Hello, good morning. Happy Wednesday, everyone. My name is Justin Nimergood. I am the host of the Real Estate Rockstars. Today, we are joined by an incredible guest, someone that has really paved their way within the real estate industry, by none other than Nathan Turner. Just a little bit about Nathan before we dig into things here. Nathan is known across the U.S. as the Canadian note guy. Having run several businesses, including fix and flip real estate, he discovered mortgage notes in the U.S. in 2009 and has since become a leader in the industry in the private investment sector. He is the president of Earnest Inc. and manager of the U.S.-based Earnest Investing LP note fund, where he actively manages assets for accredited passive investors. He is also the owner and host of Diversified Mortgage Expo, a leading annual note conference. This conference has a history of being an educational, no-pitching event where those who want to learn, network, and grow come together. Nathan is passionate about this unique approach to real estate with its multiple exit strategies and win-win situations. He is excited to take the roller coaster out of investing for his passive investors and allow them to sit back and enjoy the ride. Without further ado, let's welcome Nathan Turner to the show. Welcome, Nathan.
Hey, thank you so much. Good to be here.
It's excellent to have you here. So, I have to be honest, in having you on, you're the first one of your kind. So no one has come on as the note guy of any kind, shape, or form. So if you wouldn't mind, just share with the audience, how did you get into that space and how did you, come into that nickname, if you will?
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, it's really great to be here. I love talking about notes. It's real estate related, and we'll kind of get into that, but it's not necessarily real estate. And that's what I think makes it so interesting and exciting. So I got started going back like 05, 06, right when the market was really hot. It was really easy to flip a house. So that's what I was doing. I would buy properties. I was living in Montreal at the time and then flipping houses in Saskatoon. So for the geographical challenge, that's just above Vermont. And then Saskatoon, Saskatchewan is a little prairie town, technically a city, but just barely, just above eastern Montana, somewhere around there, Wyoming almost. And anyway, so I was doing that. I would buy the house sight unseen, pack up a suitcase full of tools and a sleeping bag, fly out there, sleep on the floor, work like crazy for a couple of weeks, fixing up the house. And then because the market was so hot, even in this little sleepy prairie town, I was able to sell the house most times before I even left town. So it worked really well. It was awesome. Life was good, all those great things. And then, of course, the market changed. And as the market changed, I got stuck with one property where I wasn't able to sell it. It just wasn't going anywhere. So I ended up renting it out because, of course, that's what you do with real estate. If you can't sell it, you rent it. That's what I knew at the time. And so that's what I did. And what I figured out very quickly is I really liked monthly income that comes from a rental. But there was very little else that I enjoyed about being a landlord. It was hard work and it was frustrating. And, I had a terrible property manager, but he was the only guy in the town that would work with me. And like, it was hard. And I was like, I don't really understand this. I don't know why people do this. So that was kind of where I was at. I liked the flipping thing, but at the time it wasn't really a possibility anymore, just because of market conditions. And the rental thing didn't really interest me a whole lot. So I thought, well, I guess maybe I'll wait until the market changes again and maybe I'll go and do some more flipping. So it was kind of in that time. And as I was going through owning this rental and just dealing with it for a couple of years before we were able to sell it, I was introduced into this world of note investing. So, and it was, had this group of properties over in the Midwest. A group of investors had bought it. They were in trouble, and they bought in April of 07, and this is now the fall of 2008, and they're going, oh shoot, now what? And my old partner and I were brought in, and they basically just kind of gave us charge, said, do what you can. We know we're not going to make a lot of money off of this, if any. And the answer was none because of, again, market conditions. And so we went to work trying to figure out how we could dispose of these properties in a way that was going to maximize any money coming back in. And the system we landed on was seller financing. So we were selling the house on terms, creating notes, and then turning around and selling the notes. So that was my brand new introduction to it. Started buying non-performing notes in 2010, and it just has snowballed since then. Now I've got a fund. We're raising money for that and buying performing notes. I've got this conference and everything. It just kind of stemmed all from some pretty humble beginnings at the very, very beginning of it all. But it's been a lot of fun.
It sounds like you've got your hands quite full now. So
Yeah.
something that probably, I mean, did you ever even imagine that it would have snowballed into what it ended up snowballing into?
No, not at all. I didn't really have any grand aspirations. I didn't have like a roadmap, a plan of where I wanted it to go necessarily. I knew that I liked the business and I knew that I wanted to buy more notes. That was about it. It started from there.
That's so neat. I love those stories when, as much as I love the stories of, hey, I persisted, I had a goal, I had a vision. I also love the stories of, I had no freaking idea that this was going to be what it ended up being. So that's so cool. So Nathan, there's a lot of challenges in the real estate industry, especially right now. I mean, if you just look at America right now, the tariffs that have been instated here in the last couple of weeks, what that's done to our economy, or seems to be doing to our economy. There's still more to come, in my opinion. Real estate is going to be impacted. It is already being impacted. But what about for your space, right? How has your space been impacted by some of the recent, shall I say, policy, changes and adjustments that have gone on?
Yeah, and that's a great question because you're right. It's very volatile. Who knows where it's going? Where there seems like there's another announcement coming out every day out of the White House, and that changes everything. And so it's hard to predict. And it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. It just makes it harder to do business and harder to predict where you're going. And as a Canadian, I'm totally politically agnostic. I get to be just a casual observer, and it makes it interesting. But it does. It presents a challenge. With notes, here's one of the things I like is it doesn't present an immediate challenge for me. When I'm going and buying one of these loans, it's whether it's a mortgage, a deed of trust, a contract for deed, land contract, whatever the case might be. The fact is I'm buying an already established set of terms. So the borrower living in the house, they've already agreed to whatever interest rate, they've agreed to whatever payment amount over this many months and years. That's already been set. That's what I'm purchasing. So regardless of what's happening in the economy, whatever's happening in the market, it doesn't actually affect anything about the mortgage that I already purchased. So it can have an effect when I'm looking to buy that mortgage a year down the road or 2 years down the road, potentially. But really, whatever I have that I'm already holding on to, nothing changes. And that's really nice. So it provides a lot more stability in a very turbulent time.
In a very turbulent time. Wow. So it sounds like there are some things that you're maybe, shall I say, shielded from being in this space, which is great. Which, again, if you're looking for investments, something that's ancillary to market conditions like that, that's probably a pretty worthwhile investment, at least something worth looking into further.
Yeah, definitely. And not to say it's completely immune, but we're very well insulated. So it's like I say, it's a separate topic, depending on what's going on, like independent of what's going on in the market, we've got what we've got. And then, change happens over time, and that's fine. But we've got a lot more time to deal with it and to foresee and plan and all those things.
Absolutely. So you mentioned, or I should say, I mentioned at the onset and latter part of your bio there about how you just love working with with these investors, investors for that matter, that can actually finally lay back and sit back and enjoy the ride, so to speak.
Yeah.
Is that the most rewarding part of your job? Share, from your own mouth, like what is the most rewarding part of your job?
That's a great question. So I get it on both sides. So with my investors, they just get to sit and relax, like knowing they don't have to understand, every nut and bolt that goes into this, but if they understand the concept and how well insulated they are, that gives all kinds of, relief and confidence in whatever's going on. That's wonderful. And I'm glad to be able to help provide that. On the other side of things, when I'm dealing with the borrowers, the people that are living in the houses, because I'm not a bank, I have so much flexibility. So I mentioned I was buying non-performing notes starting in 2010. Did that for about a decade. So those specifically were loans where people were already not making payments. And so it presented all kinds of interesting situations where we're trying to help get them back on track. The reality is I don't actually want the house. That's not what I'm after. The best and most profitable exit for me is to have that person living in the house get back on track and making payments again. That's the number one goal. And like I say, it's not just a nice thing. It actually is the most profitable. So I'm extra motivated to help them stay there. And like I say, because I'm not a bank, I can be far more flexible. So if that means we need to skip a payment, if that means we need to do a temporary adjustment to their payment amount, if that means, we adjust the interest rate or the amount of time left on the loan, we've got so much flexibility that we can work together, the owner and I, and figure out what's going to work and be able to help keep them in their home. And that's awesome. That's really, really fun.
It's pretty rare out there, I'd have to say, where when you do something that not only feels good and is like the right thing to do, actually is the best thing to do for the business. I mean,
Right.
I found in my experience, and I'm sure you've come across this, that those things lining up is very rare. So it's pretty neat that you found a venture and a way of investing that really aligns all those things up for you.
For sure. And of course, they're not always, perfect stories, and we're not able to help everybody. And yes, you can lose money on this, but overall, the good stories far outweigh the bad ones.
Absolutely. So let's take a look at the other side of the coin, if we could. What's the most challenging part of your job, or the part that you still kind of like, if you're to be truthful, you don't really care for?
There are a couple of those things. Some of the administration stuff is really not fun for me. Accounting, I really don't like accounting, and so thankfully there are other people in this world that love doing accounting. So fantastic that I get to share that with them. They get to do what they love to do, and I get to do what I love to do. So that's a an annoyance. The actual job itself, the challenges are finding notes. There's not a regular MLS that you can go and tap into mortgage notes that are for sale. So it's a constant challenge getting out there and just talking to the right people and getting connected with those who have notes to sell. And that can be anything from a hedge fund down to an individual who inherited a home and now they've sold it on terms and they're looking to cash out, and everything in between. My ideal partner in that way is somebody who does this as a business, where they're acquiring a property, they're selling it on terms, collecting their down payment, getting the note started, they've qualified the borrower, doing all that stuff. Now they want to cash out and they approach somebody like me. I can then cash them out of the note, or they can go out and buy another property, and we just keep doing that over and over again. That's my ideal. That's who I'm always looking for, and everything in between. Like I say, hedge funds right down to the individuals.
So pretty wide array of people, clients, and partners that you're talking to on a daily basis. How do you I mean, it's a lot of what I call context switching. So
Yeah.
how do you context switch, between all those different players? I mean, do you have some sort of flow diagram that you've developed? I mean, I'm sure you've kind of developed some tactics that are unique to you that have helped you be successful over the years.
Yeah, really and truly, the secret to the success is just getting out and talking to people. And so I went to my very first note conference in 2009. And then I found out that there's a whole community of people that do this. So getting connected with the people that are already in the business is massive. Because it's such a small niche business to begin with, making sure that you know who's in the know is a big deal. And so making those connections was really important. That led me to, taking over this conference that we now run. This is our third year, so 2 years ago. And because I'm out looking for connections, I'm looking to expand my network. If I'm the guy in charge of the conference, hopefully that will help me to expand that exponentially. And that has certainly been the case. That's been great, where I've been able to meet people that I probably wouldn't have met otherwise.
Absolutely. That's well said.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of process to what you do, to what anyone does in real estate. And I always like to spend some time on the negotiation part of things. So really, if you could maybe just share what was one of your most difficult negotiations that you had, and how you overcame it and kind of moved through it onto the other side of things.
Oh boy, in purchasing notes, I guess probably one of the most challenging things is when I'm approached by somebody who has a note to sell, but they don't necessarily understand notes. It takes some getting used to, honestly and truly, because like most people that get into this business, they come from a real estate background. Me too. And so when I first got into it, it was all about the property and very centered around that. So I'll have somebody who approach me and says, I've got this note for sale. And then they start to tell me all about the house and how the renovations that they did and the granite countertops and
you're like, I don't care.
Exactly. And I'm like, you know what? That actually doesn't matter to me. What are the numbers? And then trying to get that information from them. Sometimes they just don't know. That's fine. They just don't know what they don't know. So I'm saying, okay, so what's the interest rate? What's the monthly payment? What's the first date that they started making payments? What's the end date? When's the last time they made a payment? What's the next due date? And like all these things that they really aren't really thinking about. They're thinking about the house and look how beautiful we made it look. That's wonderful. But again, I don't really care. What I care about with the property is what's today's market value. Plain and simple. And then compare that to whatever the loan balance is, make sure there's some equity. That's really what I care about. So the interior, and how you hired an interior designer and all that's cool. Good for you.
That doesn't really do anything for my note, though.
It really doesn't. It makes me feel a little bit better to know that the person in the house maybe cares much more about it. But beyond that, no, it doesn't really make a difference to me.
Yeah, can't put lipstick on a pig and call it good to go, right?
Right.
So we're gonna switch gears now, and we're gonna go into kind of the final segment of the podcast together. And I'm gonna ask you a couple zingers here, Nathan. So just
sure.
Be prepared.
All right.
But it's all in good fun, and there are no wrong answers whatsoever to these. So they're totally personal. And so the first one is this. Let's say it's your 80th birthday. Who is there? What's going on? And what are you celebrating? Paint the picture for us for your 80th birthday.
80th birthday. I hope to mostly be surrounded by family. I've got 3 kids, and they're wonderful kids, and they're just kind of starting their adult lives. We've got one that graduated last year, another one graduating this year off to college, and one more coming up 9th grade. And so he's got a couple more years, but I hope they're there. I think they would be. We've had a good relationship so far, and I don't see that changing. And so mostly family, my wife, and then I would hope that I've made a difference to somebody. where they've come and said, you know what, he taught me this or he showed me that. That would be great. I would love that. And I try to do that again with the conference and everything. I'm trying to share what I've learned. There's no pitching there. I don't have anything to sell. I just want you to come and learn how to do this. My ultimate goal is you can learn how to do that so you can then sell me a note at some point. That's the selfish part of that is let's do some deals together. I want you to learn how to do this so that we can do some business. So I hope that is part of that group as well, that they're coming to say, hey, you got me started in this way, or you showed me that and it made a difference. That'd be great.
Things coming full circle, if you will.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. It kind of leads me into our second question. So you kind of gave us, I think, a glimpse into how you might answer this one, but I want you to, for a moment, imagine it's your last day on Earth and you can only preserve 3 items in your time capsule. What are those items and why?
All right. I would want I would want a couple of things. I would want my wedding ring to be in there. My marriage means a lot to me, and so that would be something I would want to preserve and show to the rest of the world. Like, that means a great deal.
Nice.
I think I'd want to have a set of scriptures in there, like just all the holy writings, and have that in there to, again, something that's very important to me. And then lastly, you know what, maybe a family picture, just to show like that's what it's all about. This is what we're here for.
I couldn't agree more. And it's amazing. No matter who I ask those 2 questions to, by the way, the answer is almost roughly the same. It's family, it's friends, it's loved ones. What they preserve sometimes changes, actually. Some people are more like, they care more about the legacy that they leave. Some people are more like you and they care more about their immediate family and the relationship that they held with them and those memories. So that's really cool of you to answer. I appreciate that. So here's the final question.
All right.
What is your definition of a real estate rock star?
Oh, a real estate rock star is somebody who's a doer, where, we can all sit and listen and we can watch podcasts and we can read books and all those great things and not do anything. I've met some of those people. Mm-hmm. I'm much more interested in hanging out with the people that are doing something. They've read some, they've figured out some things, they've, watched a few podcasts and they're ready to go. That's the person I want to be associated with, somebody who wants to get up and go. So get up and do something. And something I tell my kids all the time is, we've all heard the saying, anything worth doing is worth doing well.
Mm-hmm.
I actually challenge that and say, if there's anything worth doing, it's worth doing poorly. Just do it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just do it and you'll fix it along the way.
Oh, I love that. And it kind of bleeds into one of my favorite sayings, which is, I would much rather work with people who have ignorance are ignorant on fire versus intelligence on ice. Right.
There you go.
I prefer to work with them all day long. So that's wonderful. Nathan, how can our listeners and other people that follow our podcasts out there, how can they find and connect with you?
Best place to go would be the website, earnestinvesting.com, and that's EARNEST. So we are earnestly trying to invest. So earnestinvesting.com. You can learn more about notes there. There's a place to contact me. There's a link there to our other website, which is the conference, the Diversified Mortgage Expo. That's coming up, by the way. If any people are interested in coming out to that, May 2nd and 3rd in Nashville, definitely check it out, diversifiedmortgageexpo.com, or either one of those websites. They connect to each other.
Wonderful. Nathan, thank you so much for coming on and sharing all your wisdom with our listeners. I'm sure they all got quite a bit out of today. I know it's a topic that we haven't covered before, so really appreciate you coming on the podcast.
My pleasure. Anytime.
All right, there you have it. Another wonderful week here on the Real Estate Rockstars. Catch us next Wednesday at 10 a.m. Central as we invite more wonderful guests from across the globe on to share their stories, their impact, and their wisdom. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.